People ask me what type of vehicle I would buy if I was using my own money. Well, one choice would be this Dodge Challenger SRT with the 485 horsepower engine and 8-speed automatic that we tested last year. 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. Another choice would be this Audi S4 we tested last year. Another 0 to 60 in 4.7 second car. Then there's the BMW 3 Series, preferably with the 6-cylinder turbo engine. Another 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. The problem is, my three favorite cars all cost around $50,000. So what if we could find another vehicle that can do 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, have superior handling, stronger brakes, and sell for around $36,000? Now what car would that be? The cars I've just shown you are very quick but hardly affordable, so the question is, do we have something in our garage here that's also very quick and more affordable? Yes, we do, and here it is. It's the 2016 Ford Focus RS, and I'm told that all the things we're talking about here apply to the 2017 model as well. Well, that's what they say anyway. When I got an email telling me I was going to get a Ford Focus, I thought it was going to be the little Econo box, you know, that sells for $18,000. Then they dropped this in my driveway with a price tag of $42,000 plus. Wow, that's a step up from an Eco box, isn't it? So we'll take a look at the side view. And here, of course, we have the rear view showing that high-mounted spoiler, which seems to woo all the guys at the burger stand on Friday cruise night. And as always, before we get to more specs, the first thing we do in my videos is to take the headlights out at night and see if they live up to expectations. So we'll turn out the lights and do that right now. I've noticed this light blue metallic paint really lights up in the dark. Let's see what these headlights light up in the dark. Here we have the low beams on a wall 100 feet away. Light cuts off a little low, but more than bright. Here are the brights. More than adequate light. Here we have the high beams on a building 300 feet away, shining through a fence. Plenty to see here, going down to low beam. Just barely reaches out, more than adequate for city driving. On backcountry roads, when driving at high speeds, these headlights are even better, especially when taking corners. We do have a lot of mountain lions out here, and I really don't want to hit one, especially at this speed. Would make a heck of a dent in the front end. So let's look up close and see what separates the RS from the Focus EcoBox version. First is the base price of $35,900. Yes, we did have some options. First, we have $695 for this nice metallic blue paint, but then every RS I've seen on the planet has this metallic blue paint, so you think they make it standard. It's an extra $1,900 for these Michelin Pilot Sport Summer tires mounted on 19-inch alloy wheels. I don't know what type of wheels and tires you get standard. They all seem to come with this optional hardware. Then if you want the voice-activated navigation and heated steering wheel with heated seats, you have to fork up another $2,800, which I think I could live without this option. The second difference can be found under the hood, a tiny little 2.3 liter engine cranking out 350 horsepower and 350 pounds-feet of torque at 3,200 RPM. That's certainly impressive. Fuel economy, for those who care, is rated at 19 to 25 mpg, 22 overall. In mixed city driving, I'm getting around 19, so it appears we're on the money, but we're doing a lot of driving with this. We'll be getting the highway mileage later on in the video. Then we have these monster-sized Brembo brakes in the front. Not so big in the rear, but trust me, these brakes stop. We'll be talking about that later on the video too. These fancy Recaro bucket seats, these aren't cheap. Underneath, a sophisticated all-wheel drive system for maximum traction. By the way, I got on the internet last night and found there were a bunch of people complaining that the Focus RS has the same interior as the base economy Focus. It's like, so what? It's a Focus! And there's nothing wrong with this interior. It's more than adequate. Doesn't look any more cheap than the Nissan GTR with all their plastic. Stop complaining. This is a nice interior. I like these headrests too. Totally adjustable to any head position. We should be seeing this on more Fords. Then we have the computer-operated drive mode. Just press the button and you get 4 choices. We start off with normal mode, sport mode, track mode, and a drift mode. Now for those of you who don't know what drift mode is, it works like this. Drifting looks something like this. Yeah, well, to some people this looks like fun. But with my luck, I would probably end up doing something like this. Yes, I could just imagine the conversation now between me and Ford. Hey guys, thank you for loaning me this $42,000 Focus RS, but there's a slight fender bender problem here. Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't be upset. Personally, I think drifting is a sport for idiots, but hey, if you enjoy it, be my guest. But no, I will not be doing any drifting in this car. Okay, enough with the fun and games. Let's get down to driving. Ford recommends a whopping 46 pounds of air in these tires, so I set it as such. I think that's going to result in a stiff ride. Well, let's see. The best way to test a car's ride is to run over these speed bumps. And as a note, last week I tested a Mitsubishi Mirage, a cheap little $13,000 Econo box, on these bumps, and they glided over very smooth, very quiet. So it should be interesting to see what this does in the normal mode. We'll start at 25 miles per hour. Yeah, that was a nice thump. This car is shaking all over the place. Well, I certainly feel it and hear it. Although the suspension did a good job of absorbing the impacts. We're going to take this out in the real world and take some tight corners on mountain drives. But let's do the turning circle since we're here. Oh yeah. We are in track mode with no traction control. So I'm waiting to spin out, but I don't think that's going to happen. going to have a lot of fun with this car. Ford says the track mode is not to be used on the street. I understand part of the reason is it stiffens up the shocks hard enough to knock the fillings out of your teeth. So let's hit some speed bumps and see if that's true. Speed bump number 1. Ugh. I don't know if you heard it, but I sure felt it. The car shaking all over the place. Second speed bump. Here's a nasty one. Felt that one. We're doing 30 miles per hour, by the way. Here comes a real nasty one. Oh! Okay, I think we're done with that test. I have to say I'm very impressed with the build quality here. This vehicle has over 2,300 very hard miles on it from a long list of journalists who've been taking it to the racetrack, racing it, drifting it, doing things that you normally wouldn't do to a car. I don't do that, but they did. Hey, but not a creak or rattle anywhere to be seen or heard. And when you consider the massive amount of horsepower and torque that's running through this vehicle, obviously the platform and chassis is very well built too. By the way, I'm only getting 200 miles on a tank, or 150 miles if you want to play it safe. So plan on making lots of stops with this car. We'll be taking this on a long freeway trip to get the fuel economy and test out the passing power, as I think we're going to be doing real soon. For highway driving, this vehicle has two advantages. Number one is the awesome passing power, obviously. And number two is the excellent high-speed stability. I don't think a hurricane can blow this car off the road. Rock solid, regardless of the speed. The disadvantage is a very jittery ride. If you get seasick easily, probably not for you. The second disadvantage is that constant droning of the exhaust, which becomes very tiresome after a while. I'm told a lot of this exhaust sound is being piped in through the speakers, but I can't really tell. Just what I need, another road hog splattering gravel all over my nice windshield. Problem solved. And I was passing in 6th gear, by the way. Shows you how much torque this engine has. It's time to take some time out to talk about 0 to 60 times. I know that the 300 horsepower BMWs and the 300 horsepower Subarus do 0 to 60 in around 4.9 seconds. So you'd expect the 350 horsepower engine in here would match Ford's claim of 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Yet you get on the internet and there's gobs of people complaining they're only getting 0 to 60 in 5.3, 5.5. This is leading a lot of people to bitch that Ford is lying about the horsepower. Well, that's not true. I did 4 0 to 60 runs in this car. My worst time was 4.8 seconds, best time was 4.7. So the car is capable, pretty close to Ford's claims. So we are putting out 350 horsepower. So what's the problem? Here's the problem right here. Anytime you have a small, high output, high torque turbo engine, it is always going to perform better with a good automatic gearbox, especially a dual clutch with sport mode. A manual transmission like this simply slows things down. That's a fact, Jack. And it gets worse when you have a bunch of people who don't know how to shift. So why didn't Ford put an automatic in this car? Well, who knows? It's a European car. They like sticks over there. Maybe there wasn't an automatic transmission that can handle all the torque. But the 6-speed manual is what we get, and that's what you have to live with. If you have a lot of practice operating a stick shift, this probably will not be a problem for you. It's time for our first fuel economy check. 81 miles, 20.8 mpg. Well, it was driving pretty fast. And the tank will be dry in another 152 miles. Going to be a lot of pit stops here. And if you watch my videos, you know what's coming up next. My friend Herman the Frog. Where is he? Ah, there he is. The biggest frog in the state. It's the bugs they eat here and the water they drink. Now we're heading for the twisty mountain roads, which I'm sure will kill the fuel economy even more. In the meantime, again, the high-speed stability of this car is superb. Like riding on a rail, even if the ride is jittery. The high-speed cornering ability of this car is nothing less than awesome. Even better than a lot of the BMWs and Audis I've driven lately. If you like cars like the RS, this is your worst nightmare. A 65 mile per hour speed limit and some California jerk-off doing 35. Get out of my way. I know I promised you guys a complete fuel economy test, which has been 19 in the city and thus far 21 on the freeway. I'm pretty sure if I set the cruise control at 75 and kept it there, I could get 25 on the freeway, but I'm sorry, this car is too much fun. All the passing I'm doing, climbing hills. I think 21 mpg is about the best we're going to be doing here. Not that I'm complaining, because I'm having an awful lot of fun. Okay, for those of you interested in the maximum fuel economy, I showed some discipline and kept it under 75 miles per hour, kept my foot off the gas, babied it, and in 58 miles, 24.6 mpg. I think that's the best we're going to see off this car. Church of the Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, visitors welcome. I'm a visitor, so I guess I'm welcome. It's a good place to stop so I can show you the spare tire that the RS does not have. In order to save weight, the RS does not come with a spare tire, just this crappy tire repair kit, which I find to be useless. So why worry? I mean, what are the chances of getting a flat, right? Well, in my case, the chances are pretty good. The first 80 miles, Here's the big screw went into the tire. I got it flat on a Sunday night where everything's closed. Not good. Fortunately, I was smart enough to carry my tire repair kit with 2 compressors. One to use a spare in case one breaks down. Lots of stop leak. If you're driving a car like this with no spare, you'd be advised to get a package like this too. Runs you about 150 bucks. Better than walking. But the system we get from the factory, it just isn't going to cut it, folks. Just out of curiosity, I put this in track mode on this rough road, and this vehicle is beating the living tar out of me. I don't think this is going to be a good idea for a long journey. I can't even keep the camera still. This is one sweet engine, but connected to a 12-gallon fuel tank. You're just not going very far. I've got 170 miles on the clock, and I'm already looking for another gas station. If you're planning on taking trips between Los Angeles and New York, this probably isn't the car for you. But for short-term trips, hey, you can't beat it. So how'd you like to change a flat on that tire? Yeah. We've been driving downhill for quite a ways. In any other vehicle, the brakes will be smoking, but not here. Nice and cool, very responsive. These are really the best brakes I've ever driven on a car. We're reaching the end of our test, so let's recap some of the complaints we've been seeing on the internet. People saying this really doesn't put out 350 horsepower. They're wrong. People complaining about the interior being the same as the base Focus. So what? It's a nice interior. And some people that were bitching about the low turning radius. Hey, it's all-wheel drive. What do you expect? All these complainers are trolls. Ignore them. Now here's my take. My 2 favorite cars in the whole world, the BMW 335 series and the Dodge Challenger SRT with the 485 horsepower V8. Both will do 0 to 60 in around 4.8 seconds, but they cost 50,000 bucks a piece. A bit out of my price range. This car offers the same performance for around 36 grand, which I figure, if my math is right, is around 13 grand cheaper than the 50 grand. Bottom line, if you find one of these on the dealer for 36 grand, it's a steal. On the other hand, if you find one like this, loaded up with a lot of fluff like heated steering wheel, navigation, heated seats, stuff I really don't want, and you probably don't need, for 42 grand, not so much a steal. So you might have to do some shopping to get a good price. In any case, this is definitely one of the better Fords I've ever driven. If you're looking for performance at a low cost, you really ought to check this one out.